On the other side of the front, in Lisbon, there was a decision, 2014, not 2011, the end date. Fine. And the end date for a certain type of engagement, which also gives a feeling to everyone, let's go for an extra mile if needed. Let's go beyond just 2011 and not use or have 2011 to be used as an opportunity for just caving in and waiting for everyone to be tired and then move on. But at the same time, it becomes also a message to parliaments, perhaps even to the US Congress, to say, look, it's worth trying harder, try that extra mile, but there is a light there, and there is a plan there. So from that point of view, transition is also a message in the direction of those who are contributing money and soldiers. And it is a message to the Taliban. We are starting gradually passing on that, but it's not going to happen overnight. So if you are thinking about waiting everybody out, well, the waiting out may not take place that quickly, and you will have to endure at least 2014. Are you ready to be in a cave waiting for every night raids? Is that a great opportunity scenario, or perhaps it may be better to start looking at some different scenario? And to neighbors, that this is gradually taking place, it's moving in that direction. No one intends to be there forever, but at the same time, we are not going to do what happens twice for the Afghans, and they are traumatized by that. I would call it the Najibullah syndrome, being abandoned for a third time after having an intense attention, and then suddenly goodbye and good luck, and then chaos takes place. So in all that transition does make a lot of sense for everyone to read through that word what they need to read. So then, okay, let's go back to what is a military surge hopefully bringing to. What Secretary of State Hillary Clinton say, hopefully a political surge. That means reconciliation. That means some talking, and talking not only about talks, but about a future Afghanistan, but with some endgame that needs to be sufficiently reassuring to all Afghans and to all neighbors, apart from our own principles. Why did we all enter Afghanistan? That type of processing is already taking place. There is a high-level peace council. I am nominated by the Afghans, and is led by a person who is, in theory, extremely potentially hostile to the Taliban, because President Rabbani, in theory, was exactly the opposite of the Taliban. And some people have been arguing, but this is a wrong decision. You don't want to have someone as hostile to them in his own personal history. My modest argument is that's exactly the person you need. Because remember Begin, Sadat, you remember so many other cases. You need to have someone who has got sufficient credentials to be able to make some concessions in a discussion and not be accused of being a betrayal of any community. Bottom line, I think that the High-Level Peace Council and President Rabbani's leadership is quite a good bet on our side in terms of moving forward on reconciliation. Not perfect, no one is perfect, nothing is perfect in Afghanistan or elsewhere, but a good bet. Bearing in mind that they want to be in charge of their own discussions, and we should not be appearing to pay lip service to the concept of Afghan-owned, Afghan-led, and so on. So the next point is reintegration. You remember that key word. Reintegration, you have got two schools of thoughts, bottom-up or bottom-down. In other words, people who come and live and abandon the Taliban environment in order to be able to be offered a job, security, reassurances. And hopefully by doing so, you peel off the insurgency. Second theory, they won't be peeled off, because unless there is some reconciliation and some agreement, they actually will be afraid, worried, or not trustworthy in terms of moving. The two theories are still in question. In practice, 700 of people who were part of the insurgency, not all of them Taliban, but part of the insurgency, have already moved into that. But of course, we need to reach 30,000 at least, if not more. But if and when we get into moving on reconciliation, having this package ready and not waiting for 6 months before that, by that time they would have returned to the countryside, said, there you are, I just reconciled and here I am, I'm getting nothing, would have been also unwise. Bottom line, reconciliation and reintegration are supposed to be supporting each other. Which form and in which way we will see during the process at the moment. So the next point are the two other elements that we were saying about timing. And in life, timing is crucial. And the secret is to try to have some stepping stones so that you give a feeling that you have to deliver. You have a rendezvous where you can do something, especially in a year like 2011. 2014 is crucial, and 2011 is essential, because we all know that this is where the music and the tone of the music will be laid down. So when are these opportunities? Well, it will be in July, when there will be the first beginning of some type of redeployment, and that redeployment will be sending a message in the direction of transition. And then you will have an opportunity in Istanbul at a conference organized by the Turkish government on a regional aspect. Remember, any deal, any reconciliation in taking place in Afghanistan without having a comfort zone by important, potentially constructively engaged, sometimes not totally constructively engaged neighbors, is crucial for the stability of whatever agreement takes place. So regional conference in Istanbul, followed, inshallah, by the conference in Bonn at December, which could be the opportunity of taking stock of what has been done during this year, both politically and elsewhere, and who knows, perhaps even more than that. I will stop there, and I would rather expose myself to the brutal questions, so that I can be even more explicit, while bearing in mind that I have to be a UN official, especially in front of the media, and therefore you will have to understand some questions I may not be able to answer, but I will try to be very frank.
Well, thank you very much for that analysis and that introduction in terms of what we should be looking ahead at in Afghanistan. There are a lot of Afghan experts in this room. So I'm just going to open up the floor, ask people to state their name and affiliation, and please keep your questions to one question only. For those of you in the overflow room, and there are quite a few, we have question cards that you can fill out and hand your questions to an intern too. So we'll start with Barbara in the back here.
Barbara Slavin from the Atlantic Council, sir. It's good to see you here.
Thank you.
I wanted to get a better sense from you about the regional diplomacy. I understand that you chaired a meeting of regional ambassadors that had not taken place for 5 or 6 years. There had not been a meeting of all the ambassadors from the neighbors in Kabul. Can you talk about whether you're going to have more meetings like that? Do you think it's constructive? Should the UN set up another process like the 6+2 to bring the neighbors in? And finally, if you could comment a little bit about what Iran has been up to. Thanks.
Thank you. Could I have a glass of water, if I may? It's there. Oh, it's there. Great. Good.